So, in remote sensing and GIS, we often come across the terrain modeling because this is very much required. We'll see the basics of this terrain modeling. Terrain modeling, we have to think in terms of adding the third dimension. So, in high relief areas such as altitude, aspect, and slope, they strongly influence both human and physical environments. So, a 3D data model becomes essential. For that, we use digital terrain model. These are often synonymous to your DEM and DSM, digital elevation model and digital surface model. We derive information on height, that is the altitude, the aspect, the slope, we'll talk about this slope, watershed, that is the catchment areas, and solar radiation and hill shading, the cut and fill calculations, the hill shading, and the view shed. So, digital elevation models, these are data files that contain the elevation of the terrain over a specified area. So, often at a fixed grid interval. So, for fixed grid interval, you'll find these values, say 29, 50, and 56. These are all values which are the elevation values in a regularly spaced grid. So, an interval between each of the grid point will always be reference to some GCS, that is geographical coordinate system, which is say latitude, longitude, say UTM, or any other projection. So, if they are closer together, the grid points are located, the more detailed information will be in the file. That means if you say these 2 points are 20 meters apart or 10 meters apart, and you say these points are 1 kilometer apart. So, this is more dense than this representation. So, the details of the peaks and the valleys. So, these are peaks, these are valleys in the terrain will be terrain is nothing but the whatever you see on the earth surface. So, often you see these undulations, some rocks, some mountains and ridges, and everything what you see is terrain only. So, the detail of these peak and valleys in the terrain will be better modeled with a small grid spacing as this one than when the grid intervals are very large like this one. So, digital elevation models are elevations other than at specific grid points location that are not contained in the file. So, as a result, these peak points and valley points are not coincident with the grid. This will not be recorded in the file. So, the file also does not contain civil information like roads and buildings. It does not contain that. These are the man-made objects, so maybe you'll not get it in this DEM. So, it is not a scanned image of the paper map like graphic. It is not a bitmap. The DEM is not a bitmap, neither a scan map, and it does not contain elevation contours. Only the specific elevation values I just showed you in the matrix I just drawn. So, it does only contain the elevation contours. It does not contain elevation contours, but only the specific elevation values at specific grid point location. Then DEMs and DTMs, so they are sometimes often known as or called as together because they are synonymous, but there is certain difference between them. So, DEM, digital elevation model, this is a set of regularly or irregularly spaced height values, and there is no other information. While this DTM, this is again a set of regularly or irregularly spaced height value, but with some other information about the terrain surface also, like the ridges line, the spot heights, the troughs, the coast or shorelines, the drainage lines, the falls, the peaks, the pits, and the passes, etc. This is the digital elevation model, what it looks like. We just lay a grid over some part of the world and you find the average elevation on each cell. One cell represent a grid. This grid of one cell represent an elevation value. You can call it as elevation, you can call it as a height, you can call it as an altitude. What about this cell definition? This is the cell size, one cell we are talking about. This is the cell value which this cell contains. So, a size of a cell is in either meters or feet or degrees or even in arc seconds. What are the data sources of this DEM? The primary data sources of our DEM or DEM, DSM, etc. First is your SRTM. This is the most popular, and we have ASTER also, Advanced Spaceborne Thermal Emission Radiometer. So, ASTER is also on. This is a combination of USA and Japan. They send it, and this ASTER is covering around 99% of the globe, while SRTM is not covering that much, but still the coverage is whole globe. The areas here, the polar areas are not covered in the SRTM. So, what are the secondary stores for existing maps? What are these secondary sources? We have 30 meters, say from 1 is to 24,000 scale map, 1 arc second from NED, that is National Elevation Data Set, 100 meter around 3 arc second. See, this is 3 arc second around 100 meter, this is 1 arc second around 30 meter. So 30 meter from NED and 100 meter from 1 is to 250,000 scale maps, and also 30 arc second of the earth, for which we call it as GOTOPO 30. GOTOPO 30. This is also a source which covers the whole globe, and you can find the elevation value, each and every elevation of the complete globe. Now this is a humongous task, but still this imagery or this elevations are taken using interferometry. IFSAR, you can say IFSAR. So interferometric SAR technology is used with SRTM, while in ASTER, stereographic images are used to find the depth or elevation value. So this space shuttle SRTM we were talking about, 1 arc second elevation data for the United States, that is 30 meter for United States, and 90 meter, that is 3 arc second data for the whole globe, not complete globe. This was produced by radar measurement. As I said, it uses the IFSAR measurement from a shuttle mission. This happened in February 11 to 22, 2000. This was specially sent just to find out the elevation values. This was the main antenna, this was the outboard antenna, right? So the reflected radar signals collected at two different antennas, this provide two set of radar signals separated by certain distance, which gives us the interferometric SAR computation. This is the SRTM mission. As you can see, these are the elevated values, and see, these are the images which are actually draped on the underlying DEM. So how realistic it is. The interferometry I was talking about used by SRTM. In interferometry, two images are taken from different vantage point of the same area. So these are the points. One, the image is taken from this point and this point simultaneously, but there is a distance between these two. So the slight difference in the two image allows scientists to determine the height of the surface. Then we have another secondary data source generation using the USGS topographic maps. This is, say, a 200 meter mesh with the UTM coordinates, and these are the grid. This is a grid, and you can take out the points. You have various contour points here, and you can take out the values here and place a single value here. This is, say, 100 by 100 meter mesh of UTM coordinate. This is about 30 meter mesh with standard 1 is to 24,000 scale maps. These are the lattice points you see. These are the lattice points. These red dots are the lattice points, and these are the cell which stores the elevation at lattice point. So now finally we can get the elevation, and these are the contours. Contours are the lines with equal elevation. All the points on this contour will have equal elevation. So this contour is having points with 740. The elevation value is 740. So what is the comparison? See, this is a 30 meter resolution DM. This is a 100 meter resolution DM. This is more finer. This is coarse. And what about the ordnance survey? The landform panorama and landform profile. So landform panorama for ordnance survey, the source scale is 1 is to 50,000. The resolution was 50 meter, and the vertical accuracy is plus minus 3 meter. While the source scale of 1 is to 10,000, the resolution is very good. That is 10 meter, and the vertical accuracy is also quite good. That is plus minus 0.3 meter only. The comparison of landform panorama and landform profile, you see how clear and how better it is. Then we come to the LIDAR data, the most talked about technology today, which is being used, applied everywhere. This is light detection and ranging. LI for light, D for detection and ranging. See, the horizontal resolution is 2 meter. 2 meter horizontal resolution. And the vertical accuracy is excellent, plus minus 2 centimeter. How good it is. So how to model the building and topological structures also? There are two main approaches. First, digital elevation model. Models based on data sampled on a regular grid, as lattice we have seen. Then you have triangular irregular networks based on irregular sample data and Delaunay triangles. So the representation is like this. Rather than points, this representation is like triangles. So these are triangular irregular networks. They are irregular, but all the points on one face or one triangle will have equal variation. And what about Delaunay triangulation? It says that if you draw through the centroid, the sphere does not the circle or the formation does not intersect. So these are the DMs of the sample points. And these are the tin based on sample points. So these are the triangles you see the faces, and all the points have equal elevation at one triangle. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of DEM and TINS? DEMs, it accepts data direct from the digital altitude matrices. It must be resampled if irregular data is used, and it may miss complex topographic features, of course, because it will take the sample values only. The points exactly that it is going to take. It will not take the topology. So it may include redundant data in lower relief areas, and this is less complex and CPU intensive. While in the TINS or triangular irregular network, it accepts randomly sampled data without resampling. It accepts randomly sampled data without resampling. And it accepts linear features such as your contours and break lines, ridges and troughs, etc. And it accepts point features like spot heights and peaks also. And the density vary. So vary density of sample points according to the terrain complexity also. What about the derived variables? What you can derive for a DTM or a DEM? So primary use of these DTMs is calculation of three main terrain variables. One is your height, other is your aspect, the third one is your slope. What is the height? This is the altitude about the datum. And what is the datum? Datum is that ellipsoid which has been taken for computation for a particular region. You need to have say various eccentricity and this small a, small b in terms of an ellipse or ellipsoid. We require this for computation. So the altitude about datum which has been datum which is the ellipsoid which has been selected, the height about the datum, and the aspect. The direction area of terrain is facing, the direction area which terrain is facing, and the slope which is the gradient or the angle of terrain. How to calculate the slope? We have seen that we can derive three things. Height, of course, the height is there in the regular display or regular graded display, that is the DEM also and the TINS also. Height is always there. What about the aspect and slope? So how to compute the slope? How to calculate the slope? The inclination of the land surface measured in degrees of percent. The inclination of the land surface. See, if I draw like this. So this is the slope, this is the slope, this is the slope. We are talking about this slope. So inclination of the land surface measured in degrees of percent. So we apply 3x3 cell filter. We find best fit tilted plane that minimize square difference in height of each cell. We apply a plane as z equal to a plus bx plus cy. So then we determine the slope of the center, that is the target cell. Slope is given by b square plus c square. This is how we compute the slope. And how to calculate the aspect? What is aspect? The direction the land surface is facing, measured in degrees or nominal values, north, south, east, west, northeast, north, southeast, northwest, southwest. So we use again a 3x3 filter and we find best fit tilted plane, and we determine the aspect for targeted cell, which is given by tan inverse c by b. There are other derived variables also from DEM. Many other variables describing a terrain features or characteristics. These are hill shading, profile or plan curvature, the feature extraction. This is the example. This is the height. This is the aspect, the slope, the hill shading, the plan curvature, and the feature extraction. What are the problems with DEM? Issues worth considering when creating or using DTMs. First is the quality of data used to generate. Then what was the interpolation technique that was used, and which gives, of course, the errors will be there, which gives rise to error in the surface, like sloping lakes, rivers flowing uphill, local minima, stepped appearance. There are various applications. First and foremost is the visualization, the terrain and the 3D surface. Then the visibility analysis, how far you can view, the intervisibility matrices and the view sheds. Then the hydrological modeling, because in this slope and aspect, all these aspects DEM, the most important is the catchment area for hydrology people and the flow models, and of course for engineering people, cut and fill, the profiles, etc. Then the terrain visualization properties or the outputs are analytical hill shading, the orthographic views, that is any azimuth, altitude, view distance point, and the surface drapes like point, line, area data, and also the fly through, animated fly through. So these were some aspect of terrain modeling. We have seen DEM in detail also, and the outputs and the secondary outputs, which are very important while this DEM is under consideration. So thank you so much. This is all for terrain modeling.